Well, we stay very positive. I try to stay very positive. Certainly,
Yes.
there's no point in complaining, because everybody's in some degree of trouble, and we just have to find creative solutions and best way out of this. We're awaiting clarification. I'm actually in direct conversation with DCMS, with some top officials there, just to clarify that we can, in fact, go ahead next week. We assume that we can because if cinemas go ahead and places of worship, the rule seems to be about social gatherings. So we're not essentially a social gathering. We're a concert, and you'd have smaller social gatherings or households within that, and socially distanced in the hall in
Yes.
very small numbers. So I think we're not on the radar in terms of what they're trying to outlaw at the moment, because the major spreading events for the virus seem to be big social gatherings, or social gatherings of 30 or more, where people forget about social distancing. And we're certainly going to enforce social distancing very much in the hall. Staggered entry times for the audience so that they avoid crossing over each other. A certain amount of people in every row. Rows being filled in such a way as people arrive that you don't cross over your neighbours. Antiviral fogging of the seats and the auditorium before and after concerts. Taking temperatures on arrival, and a contact tracing system in place. So it couldn't be more robust, particularly in terms of the size of the auditorium, because it's quite a high ceiling and all the rest. We've got very good ventilation, which will be on a COVID safe mode. In fact, it has been for the last few weeks 24/7 on that mode. And all of our risk assessments have been second guessed by medical professionals, and indeed some of the people involved in writing a report on music for DCMS in recent weeks. So I think we've been very thorough in our preparation for all of this. So hopefully by the end of today, we'll just get that clarification that indeed cinemas, concert halls or other venues and churches can proceed as we expected to.
Yes, yes. And it all sounds like a very robust model, as you've just said. But what I would be really interested to know is whether socially distanced concerts provide a financially stable model for your hall, or will this need to be supplemented with other forms of income like your Friends membership and the government funding?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because we need 80 to 90% houses. Andrew Lloyd Webber made that quite clear yesterday to the select committee.
Yes.
We can only do this because we have effective fundraising. I couldn't believe it, that somebody in the arts who must be very naive said to me, "Oh, it's all very easy for all of you because you can fundraise and you get piles of cash."
Mm-hmm.
That's not how fundraising works.
Mm-hmm.
This has taken 15 or more years to build up a network of donors who are willing to be approached to help us. And indeed, one donor has said they will help us if we get into serious trouble down the line and we don't exhaust all of our other options.
Yeah.
So, we're going to have to dip into our reserves, and we've been losing $500,000 in revenue every month since we closed in March. We're going to hopefully hang on to as many members through Friends membership and other memberships as possible. There will be an income from broadcasting, from online streaming, where we will encourage donations. So no, it doesn't make financial sense at all, but we've come up with a model that can work for now. So, there's been no magic wand, money hasn't fallen from the sky.
Yes.
And we are working very hard and have had to work very hard to get into this position. And it's not sustainable in the long term. We can do this until Christmas. In fact, we do it twice a day. There'll be concerts in September and October. And then in November and December, we'll only be open 1 or 2 days a week. And I'm not going to say yet what we'll do in the new year, because we have indeed applied for DCMS funding from that 1.57 billion that was announced a few months ago. So it's not easy for Wigmore Hall. And we haven't had a soft landing. Everybody's in trouble. And, some of us were in a good position at the beginning of the pandemic with reserves through prudent management over many years and fundraising. But of course, as the pandemic goes on, and this could be an 18-month crisis before we can have full audiences back to the hall and can operate a full program, all of us in the arts and all of us in live performing arts are in danger sooner or later of running out of cash. And that applies to Wigmore Hall just as much as it does to the South Bank or the Opera House, or any other institution in London or throughout the land. So I think it's very important to say, no, it's not easy. And just because we didn't make a big song and dance about it, and up until now, I've framed everything I've said in the most positive way possible, because I think certainly with government looking at us, we can't be seen to be shroud waving or asking for special pleading. But in no way should that take from the message that the Hall has had a very hard time. So in speaking up for the industry as a whole, and in trying to be generous about that, it was surprising that one other administrator in the industry put that to me. And I feel I need to dispel that notion straight away. And that sort of language coming from anybody in the arts is very dangerous, because it's not long ago, it's only a decade ago, that a government was proposing pulling state funding and going towards a more American model. And I know they've looked at this again recently, where state support from the art is diminished and taken away, and where government assumes that we can all build up huge endowments, just as people have, institutions have in the States over many decades. That's not possible either. It takes so long to build up the confidence and the trust of donors. They need to see a good track record. They need to see all sorts of visions for the future and cases for support. So that sort of language is just not helpful. And it's very ungenerous of anybody who's talking like that.
So in what ways can people help to support the Hall financially then in these difficult times?
Well, the most important thing is, if you watch a concert, because we're not going to ask you to pay a ticket price for watching a concert online, give us a donation if you can. Please think about that. Every £5, every £10, every time you watch in such numbers will help us, because what we want to do is cover our operational costs, no more than that, and pay the artists their normal fee, because we're really worried about artists who haven't worked since March, since the beginning of the pandemic. And by September, and we're in September already, that means they've had 6 months without work, by Christmas, 9 months. So we feel that we owe them their full fees. We're not going to say, come and perform for a smaller fee. We want to pay them their full fees. And the only way we can do this is through effective fundraising and through people giving when they watch the concerts.
Yes. You talked about the online broadcasting of your concerts there. And I remember that the last time we met, we talked about the importance of what you've termed the digital infrastructure upon the outreach of Wigmore Hall. And within this century, your venue has become a pioneer in digital media. So in terms of your digital infrastructure, what successes and developments have you observed within the last 5 years? And I imagine that your digital infrastructure couldn't have been any more timely and important for a moment in history like this.
Well, no, because we couldn't have done our June broadcasts. We would have done those under our own auspices.
Yes.
And Radio 3 very kindly and very quickly came in as the partner on that. And again, from next week, we're going to have 100 concerts between now and Christmas, minimum 30 of which Radio 3 will join us as a partner, and the other 70 online under our own auspices. In 2012, I can remember saying that I felt that every arts organisation can become its own broadcaster, should be thinking about becoming its own broadcaster. And that's certainly what we have become. We invested then after 2012 in a proper studio infrastructure whereby we can broadcast every concert. And that's been exceptionally useful in this period, and meant that we could give that glimmer of hope to artists and throughout the industry in June, and again will get us through until Christmas. My only worry about all of that is that, of course, at some point audiences might get tired of watching things online, because there is nothing like a live. The figures are very encouraging, and while people can't attend concerts in great numbers, it's useful to have this going on. I'm not quite sure if there's a sustainable business plan around all of this. And certainly over the last 5 years, we've been able to broadcast free of charge many concerts to every demographic right throughout the world where that's needed.